Business, a podcast about business, marketing, growth, strategy, staff, clients, babies, marriage. I am Christina. This is the ever popular and famous Peter Pilarski. We are the founders and leaders of CIPR Communications.
Hey, we get to talk about tactical plans today, finally.
Woohoo!
Amazing, right? Like that many steps and that much thought before you get into the tactics.
No, I feel like that's a really good place to pause and talk about our business for a second, because I think it proves how much we've evolved. But when someone would come to us and go, I need you to post on my Facebook for me. And we'd be like, all right, let's do it. And, 3 months later, nobody's seeing the results that nobody articulated that they wanted to see the beginning, or you're spinning your tires on content, or, you're seeing an audience base of people that you didn't want to see engage. And it's like, oh, there wasn't a strategy.
Right. Which I think many businesses do that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I liken it a bit to accounting. So if you know me, math is not a thing. I actually, ask for a calculator for a gift. Peter, my birthday's this month. Maybe you can get me a calculator. But it's I view accounting as actually all the papers on my floor right now that I'm just trying to get into a coherent thing to pass off to our bookkeeper. But it's actually there's this whole financial strategy piece, and no wonder we weren't necessarily achieving our business dreams when we didn't have a financial strategy in place. And now that we do, it feels like we are. And marketing, I feel like people often don't put marketing into that bucket, but you need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. So just a side note before we get into the tactical plans, but I mentioned in a previous episode, we're doing some polling of our target demographic, our personas, and trying to understand them a little bit better. And fairly consistently, I'm hearing a lot of I'll say it this way. For the people who responded that said they don't think that a strategy is important up front, those same people seem to be saying that they have no visibility and no understanding what marketing ROI they're getting and what they're investing in and why. So it's kind of interesting, right? Whereas the people who say they want a strategy up front, that's not really a pain point that they identify, or that they believe that a strategy up front is important. They don't really identify that as a pain point. So it's kind of interesting, right? But it's sort of there's the data for you.
Super interesting.
Yeah. And also, just side note, is also those same people that don't want the strategy up front, are basically invest almost nothing in marketing. And then they also coincidentally are saying that their businesses are decreasing in size. So a lot of interesting correlations there. But anyways, I digress.
There's some food for thought. Yeah. Okay. Tactical plans. Another place where I think we really differentiate ourselves. And I will just say, I don't know, a side note, but the tactical plan was really my brainchild. So I'm going to take credit here. And really it came from, I would say, years of receiving strategies or writing strategies in my corporate roles, where then nothing would come of it. You'd spend all this time developing a strategy and everyone would be like, that's great. And then nothing would come of it. And so for me, even before CIPR, I always would pull out an Excel spreadsheet and just month by month block. Okay, to actually achieve this strategy, I have to be thinking about these things and moving them forward. And I'd say that the tactical plan itself and the spreadsheet has evolved years over years. But our first client that I think we actually developed a tactical plan for that's really in depth was Tourism Kamloops. And I remember years later hearing Bev say when they were starting their Value of Tourism initiative, she had this great idea around love in the loops and value of tourism. And we had many conversations with her. And one of the calls ended was, Christina, I just need you to make one of those spreadsheets. And I love that our clients now, many of them say, Christina, you just need to make a spreadsheet. And it's a bit of a joke internally, but like it's the checklist. It's the, okay, I have a strategy, and now month by month, what are the tactics that are going to help me achieve the strategy?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's like really spells it out in a really clear way. And what I like about your tactical spreadsheets also is that because it's on a spreadsheet format, it's like everything's movable, everything's changeable. So it's like, hey, you know what? Life happens, business happens, things happen for various reasons. Maybe this tactic wasn't achieved this month or whatever. But it allows you to basically go back every single month and say, okay, what did we achieve? What did achieving those or what did we execute? What did executing those tactics achieve? What didn't we execute and why? And is this still important? And so it's nice because you can literally adjust, but sort of still be tracking towards an end goal. And I think certainly the way you organize your tactical plans, and yes, you've been definitely evolving them over time and thinking them through and making them better. I agree. Sort of really just creates that line of sight, I think, for people and for clients as to exactly, to your point, is taking that strategy that ends up a little bit on the shelf. Like the strategy itself often doesn't get looked back on unless it needs to be. And we have a client right now where it's like, hey, we're completely off strategy here. So let's go back to that document. And you know what? If that document isn't what you think it should be, then let's adjust that. And then let's go back to the tactical plan and make those adjustments, right? But it just really gives you goalposts, and it gives you sort of a clear line of sight. And I think, as I think about us as an agency, and certainly, what I'm trying to position as us as, or sort of, the selling proposition that I'm trying to sort of provide to people is that, like, because this is consistent with what people say about marketing, is like, we want you to feel 100% clear as to what you're investing in, why, when, all of that kind of stuff, and then what the results are as a result, right? And that tactical plan really is the blueprint, if you will, to allow you to do that.
Yeah, okay, so back up a little bit. What does a tactical plan actually look like?
Right.
So, I mean, again, CAPR believes in no cookie cutter approach. So every tactical plan looks different, which is kind of a cop-out answer, but they're either organized by month, by quarter. Sometimes it's by week, depending on the engagement or the particular campaign. Peter just yawned.
I couldn't hold it back.
Just like talking about a spreadsheet, and Peter starts yawning.
And sleep.
Oh God. Anyway,
I love the tactical plan. Sorry.
Anyway, so your timeline, whatever it's broken down into, and then thinking about the campaigns conversation we had in the last episode. But for some, it's like, your rows become your campaigns, and okay, month by month, what are the tactics I need to achieve this? Sometimes when it's like a more complex engagement, the rows actually become the high level tactics. Okay, public relations. What am I going to do in this month to achieve public relations? Or social media? What do I need to do on social these months? So if you've already thought through the tactics, another way we like to organize them too is by target audience or persona. So actually, speaking of tourism Kamloops, we just finished one up for 2021 on the corporate communication side that actually has stakeholders down the left-hand side. So stakeholders, our general public, are right. So different audiences that way. So that's how they're organized. And then it's literally the tactical dump. So if you have team members that are passionate about tactics, in your last conversation about campaigns, you were engaging your visionary and your kind of big ideas people. This one is like, come and get your subject matter experts, your tool experts into the room. And that's when you go, okay, for us, like Kaylin, social media, how do you think social media fits into this overarching strategy, and what does it say? Or, Francois, tell us how SEO fits into this overarching strategy, and where we can maximize it. So that's when these tactics start to be plotted out, and when you actually start talking about tactics.
Yeah, what I like about our tactical plans too, and I think where this is, again, I think something that really helps us as an agency and helps our clients, is that then you can also start to assign people to different tactics, right? So it's like, hey, you know what? we're going to handle this part internally, so assign that to us. CIPR, I want you guys to do this part. Okay, assign that to us. And then, again, it's just sort of like almost like a checklist that you can go back to and say, okay, you were assigned this. Did it get done? Okay, here it is. Okay, you were assigned this. And it just helps kind of keep everything on track and kind of helps everybody to stay accountable, which is really the way to move projects forward. And I think a lot of, and I think it also gives people a bit of a line of sight onto the workload. And I know that one of the things you started doing recently is actually also kind of putting a budget, almost like a monthly budget of time or whatever, to tactical plans. So if it's a retainer amount of X a month, and we've kind of budgeted that we're going to spend this much on this tactic and this much on this tactic, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go back at the next month and say, this is how much time we've actually spent on these various tactics. And that helps you to then budget your time accordingly as well. And to say, hey, you know what, this month we didn't necessarily accomplish these things. So that means next month, maybe we can do a little bit more for you to make up the time, or, whatever, right? And every scenario is different, but I think it sort of really helps on multiple fronts, and is a really useful tool.
Yeah. So I would say my 2 tips as you're coming to this spot in your marketing strategy is get out a spreadsheet or a sheet of paper, and month by month, just start writing the tactics you think you need to do to achieve it. And then, like Peter said, like put beside who's going to be responsible for it. Is it you? Is it a different team member? Or is it someone external? And start mapping the tactics that way. Or if you're working with an agency already, challenge them to tell you or show you how that strategy is going to be brought to life. Because a great strategy is great, but without the right tactics at the right time, that strategy is going to be ineffective. So
Totally.
That would be my words of advice.
Completely. Yeah.
Well, thank you for making it through a conversation about spreadsheets. I almost lost you there, but
I was fine. I just had lunch, so I was just digesting. It's okay. I'm fresh and I'm ready to go.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, tactical plans. And next week we're gonna, I think, dive into a few tactics.
Nice.